Now, watching this video shows that you're interested in Vietnam. Probably you want to travel to Vietnam, you want to come and work in Vietnam, or anything like that. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a detailed video about Vietnam. I've been living in Vietnam for 4 years now, working as an English teacher. I'm a non-native English teacher. I'm Black African. So I have traveled around Vietnam, from the north to the central to the south of Vietnam. So I'm going to be breaking down what you should expect before coming to Vietnam and everything around Vietnam, the life in Vietnam and everything, your salary expectations, everything around Vietnam. So I just request you to stay here until the end of this video, and you're going to be enjoying everything. You're really going to have good time watching this video. There's so much that you can learn about Vietnam, and there are a lot of things that we can learn about living in Vietnam. There are a lot of things that we can learn about working in Vietnam. There are a lot of things that we can learn about Vietnam as a country. But in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down the country Vietnam. Now, quick things first. Vietnam is located in the southeastern part of Asia, Southeast Asia, and it has a population of over 98 million people. That's the estimate right now. It could be around 99 million people or close to 100 million people. And Vietnam is divided into 3 parts or 3 regions. It has the southern, the northern, and the central region. Now, in the northern region is where we have the capital, Hanoi. And in the central region, we have Hue, Da Nang, Quang Binh, and then we have the popular Ho Chi Minh City in the southern part of Vietnam. Vietnam, its capital, of course, is Hanoi, and in Vietnam, they speak Vietnamese. The most used language is Vietnamese. English is used in Vietnam, but in some parts, not everywhere. Not everyone can speak good English in Vietnam. Just some people can speak good English in Vietnam. It's a percentage of I think around maybe 10%. So most of people can't communicate in English. So, and it's not that they use Vietnamese because they can't communicate in English. No, Vietnam is the local language. Vietnamese is the local language in Vietnam, and it's a widely used language in the country. Almost every transaction is done in Vietnamese. Even contracts like work contracts and everything have Vietnamese on them. Now, the currency used in Vietnam is Vietnamese dong. They have their own local currency called the Vien Di or Vietnamese dong, and the Vietnamese dong has the highest currency or the biggest currency being 500,000 dong, and then the lowest that I know being 1,000 dong. Let me see if my wallet has some of the money here in Vietnam. The lowest here, I have the lowest here. This one is 1,000 dong. This is the lowest that I know. Oh, sorry, my camera can't do it. But this is the lowest note that I know. And then the highest is 500,000 dong. At least that one, I'm sure of it. Then we have the 2,000 shillings note. We have the 2,000 dong note. We have the 5,000 dong note. We have the 10,000 dong note. We have 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, and then the highest, which is the 500,000 dong. Now, as we are continuing with this video, I want to remind you that I'm giving you an insight. I'm giving you a detailed video of what to expect before you come to Vietnam, the life in Vietnam, what we do in Vietnam, working in Vietnam, and everything around Vietnam. So if you're interested in this, I just request you to comment down below, like this video, share it with your friend, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna be answering some of the questions that you've been sending me in my email, and I'm really gonna try to answer all the questions that have been coming through in my email in this YouTube video. So let us continue about Vietnam. Now, before I give you everything about Vietnam, I just want to show you the life and everything to expect in Vietnam. Hospitals, like when it comes to health, Vietnam is not so good. It's not like they don't have standard health like in first world countries or maybe highly developed countries, but at least they try. At least in every town there is a hospital, and then there's a district hospital in each and every district. There's a provincial hospital in each and every province, and then there are regional referral hospitals in every region. So you find that the health system is not so bad. Most of the when it comes to drugs, most of the medicine is sold on at the pharmacies. You can find it at the pharmacies and drug shops. Uh, yeah, and I think that's all about health. And then when it comes to school education and everything, like if you have kids and you want them to study in Vietnam, or you also want to study in Vietnam, first of all, is the system so much concentrates on teaching their kids and giving them, I think, enough rest. Yeah, I think that's the best way to term it. Like in Vietnam, it's not about pumping and pumping and pumping education into a kid. They study from morning. At some schools open at 6:30, some schools open at 7, depending. It varies on the season, summer and winter, the major seasons here in Vietnam. So it varies. Yeah. So in winter, there's a different time of starting school and stopping school, and then in summer it's a different thing. And then talking about seasons, Vietnam is divided into two when it comes to seasons, the weather mostly. Um, in the north and central Vietnam, there are 4 seasons. Okay, of course we have spring, we have fall, we have winter and summer. And then when you go to the south, where Ho Chi Minh City is located, I'm emphasizing on Ho Chi Minh City because most of the people that know Vietnam outside, they just know Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, the capital. So in the south, that's where Ho Chi Minh City is located. And in the south, you expect the tropical weather, like the East African tropical weather, which is wet and dry season. It's either raining or there's sunshine around. It's not like this very, very cold winter and very, very, very hot summers. No, it's the tropical weather. And most of the foreigners that come to Vietnam prefer living in Ho Chi Minh City because of that. Those that don't care about the weather and what really happens around the weather, they prefer living in Hanoi. And then some people prefer living in the central where Da Nang is located. Now, I think that's enough introduction about Vietnam, and I would like to go into details. I want to tell you that I have a lot of questions here, and I've written them on my papers, but I first wanted to give you what you really should expect in Vietnam. Now, when it comes to language, people mostly in the central areas, no, in urban areas like city centers, Hanoi, the Da Nang, um, Saigon, and most city centers like the highly developed areas of Vietnam, you'll find that a big percentage of them can speak English, or at least can communicate with you in English, and they can really understand. But if you're a newcomer in Vietnam, you don't know the language, you can't really communicate with them very well, you find it difficult when you go to rural areas. But the good thing about these people is that they always have Google Translator on their phones. At least almost every person can do that, and they can use phones. So they always have Google Translator, and they will always try to communicate with you. So the thing of language is not a very, very big thing in Vietnam. That even if you're a foreigner and you're new to Vietnam, people will always try to help you out. And then talking about Google Translator and using phones and everything, I cannot forget to talk about the internet, electricity, and water. Now, internet, or yes, the internet generally, not just Wi-Fi, is available in Vietnam. It's relatively cheap, so Vietnamese can really afford it. The electricity is not so cheap, but at least they can afford it, and it has been provided almost everywhere in Vietnam. Then running water is available in all cities, and then rural areas, pump water from the ground. So they use generators to pump water from the ground. So everything about electricity and water and the internet shouldn't be something that should make you worried. You'll be connected to the internet. Vietnam, in Vietnam, there's no application that is legal. What should I say? Legal applications that are very open to be used in the rest of the world that is blocked in Vietnam. There is none. We use Facebook, we use YouTube, we use TikTok, we use Instagram, everything. Vietnamese are connected. We people that live in Vietnam, we are connected to the world, and we can communicate with our families back in our countries, and everything is open like that. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. That is the only way you support me. Share this video to anyone that would like to come to Vietnam. Mostly non-native speakers, because sometimes when we speak these words, people think that they can't live in Vietnam if they are not speakers, or they're not, English is not their first language. But I've been living here for 4 years now, so you can really live in Vietnam even if English is not your first language, and you can really work here in Vietnam. Okay, now the other thing that I would like to talk about is transport. Now, just like you're watching this video, Vietnam has, most parts of Vietnam, mostly in the urban areas, have good roads. And of course, most parts of Vietnam really have good roads. And then the widely used transportation mode is motorbikes, yes. And then buses, city buses, and of course the other buses that go inter-provincial buses that go through the provinces and everything. But mostly they have trains. Metro is available, and right now in 2023 by the time you're watching this video. And then air transport, of course. Big cities, all big cities have airports, so you can travel from Dong Hoi City to Saigon, from Saigon to Hanoi, from Hanoi to Da Nang. So most big cities have airports, so you can really travel through. Yeah, but the most widely used mode of transport in Vietnam is motorbikes. So at least if you're well and you have no issues with your health and everything is well with you, at least there is a day that you're going to have to ride a motorbike in Vietnam. Okay, now talking about transport, there's also another thing that I would like to talk about is the cost of living in Vietnam. Now, Vietnam is a cheap country to live in, at least right now. Food is cheap or affordable. Okay, yeah, sometimes when we use the word cheap, people feel offended, but at least let me say the food in Vietnam is affordable. It's not difficult to live in Vietnam. You can live on a low pay. Average Vietnamese live on as low as $300 or $200. Families, not just a single person, $200 or each and every month. So there is everything that you really want to have in Vietnam, and you're going to be able to afford it. Food, when it comes to food, it's your choice. You can buy food from local markets, or you can buy food from supermarkets like Vinmart, Vincom, Big C, depending on where you live. There are some Big C's, Coopmart, and then other big brands. But of course, most of them use Vinmart. Yes, Vinmart. That is rebranding to Winmart, I think. Yeah, it's the same thing. Anyway, yeah. So when it comes to food, you can really access it, and there are always, of course, those small stores like that have everything. Not everything in them, but they have like snacks. They have toothpaste, toothbrushes. They have sugar and everything. They're always around like your area where you live. Like you at least find one in half a kilometer, or at least 300 meters there's always something that you can buy from them, like in case you don't want to go to the supermarket. But even the Winmarts, they're spread everywhere. It's really hard to drive like 5 kilometers in a city without finding a Winmart or a Winmart somewhere, or at least you'll find a Coopmart or a Big C. So everything is accessible here. Now, when it comes to people in Vietnam, I wouldn't say that Vietnamese people are bad. No, no, no. And I think that would be, uh, I wouldn't be fair if I say that Vietnamese people are bad. How would I have lived here for 4 years legally in Vietnam? Of course, there is some kind of sensitivity when it comes to people of color, when it comes to Asians, like fellow Asians. They don't look at them like that. But of course, that stereotype comes from the Western culture. Like when most of the people want to be like American, people want to be white. You see that a lot of Vietnamese young girls between the age of 17 and, of course, between the age of 16 or 15 and 25 want to look white, and they really look up to Americans and Canadians, North Americans, Canadians, Americans. They look up at Australians, and so that stereotype is there. And also, when it comes to people of color like me, black people, depends on where you're living. In the cities and urban areas, you're not going to find any problem, of course. But when it comes to small areas where people don't see, they rarely find people of color or black people like them. There'll be some sensitivity. But in Vietnam, you're not going to feel like you're black. There are no people that are going to find you and say, oh, he's black, blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. But of course, there will be some sensitivity in some areas. I wouldn't say that there are no racists, because there have been cases of racism in Vietnam, serious cases of racism, and they have really happened. But the same thing that has happened in America, the same thing that has happened in South Africa, the same thing that has happened in Nigeria, and New Zealand and the UK, it's the same thing that is happening in Vietnam. And you can't really compare the rate of Vietnam in the other country. There's no Vietnamese that is going to find a black person and tell them, go back to your country, or find a white person and tell them, go back to your country, or even Chinese. They don't tell Chinese that go back to your country. So it is really a peaceful place that you're going to find. And security wise, Vietnam is good. The security in Vietnam is really good. I see people moving around during midnight. At midnight, they move around with their money. No one is. I wouldn't say that there is no criminals and that crimes are not committed in Vietnam. But when you compare it to many countries, developed countries and even developing countries, you look at Vietnam and you're like, no, Vietnam is at least different from other countries, and at least you give it a 9 out of 10 when it comes to security. I've never had any security issues in Vietnam. One of my friends had an incident when his motorbike was stolen, but his motorbike was found later, though he didn't have the money that was kept in the trunk, but he found his motorbike later. So Vietnam is not really a bad place that you're going to say, no, like when it comes to security, no, it's not really a bad place. Now, what next? Now, I'm going to talk about two things before I stop this video, because it's becoming very long. But the first thing I want to talk about is tourism and work. Like, it depends on what you really want to come and do in Vietnam. But if you want to come and work in Vietnam, then you should know that Vietnam hires experts. You shouldn't expect to get a job in a factory setting or like a factory worker. You shouldn't expect to get a job like manual labor or anything like that, because they have enough labor for that. You see that many companies are even leaving other Asian countries to come to Vietnam because of cheap labor. But if you're an expert, for example, English teachers, mostly English teachers, there is a very big market for English teachers in Vietnam, natives and non-natives, but mostly native speakers, and of course whites. So if you're coming from a native English speaking country, if you're a native English speaker, so if you're coming from a country where English is the first language, and also non-native speakers that have degrees and are professionals, you can come here and you're going to work here. And then experts like engineers and the people in different departments. I've seen a lot of people that have worked here in Vietnam in different departments and have really done well. So if you're an expert, you're really going to find a job. Now, for you that want to come to Vietnam for touring, just to check out Vietnam, to see how Vietnam is and do everything, I think Vietnam is a very good destination for that. There's so many places, like for you that remember the Vietnamese War. A lot of people have studied about this one. You really want to come to Vietnam and see how the thing really works. So you can come to Vietnam and visit a lot of places, beautiful places. Vietnam is known for coffee. It's known for really good coffee. It's known for rice, good rice, and lots of stuff in Vietnam, but mostly coffee. And two more things that I would like to talk about. The first one is business. If you want to start a business in Vietnam, I don't think, or you want to start a business or to open up a company, to register a company in Vietnam. I have many friends that have done that. I've not done it, but I have many friends that have done it, and it hasn't been hard for them. As long as you have some money, you want to do a business in Vietnam, and even you that want to export from Vietnam, you want to buy hair, women hair, you want to buy clothes, you want to buy machinery, that like mostly farm machinery, you really come to Vietnam and you're really going to find lots of stuff. Vietnam manufactures almost everything right now. Yeah, so you'll find factories that have almost everything that you want to take to your country. So you can find agents around on the internet, on Facebook and everything, or you can come to Vietnam, and that is the best way to do it. Now, there are people that would like to retire, and you want to retire, and you're thinking about retiring in Vietnam. I wouldn't like to break down something that I don't have enough details about, and that's the retirement visa. But Vietnam has different packages when it comes to retirement, and that is something that I would like to make a video about. That is, if you want me to talk about that. So if you're thinking about retiring in Vietnam, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you really want to know about retiring in Vietnam. I'm going to do enough research. I'm going to talk to agents. I'm going to talk to everyone, and I'm going to find some immigration officers if I can. And then I'll give you full details about retirement in Vietnam. There's also another video that I would like to make, and that's marriage in Vietnam. That's something that I'm doing research about, and I'm going to bring you a very detailed video. Don't forget to comment down below, like my video. My name is Shammah Benefits. I make videos like this one and upload almost every single day. So if you really enjoy this video, give it a thumb up, and if you don't like it, dislike it. See you in